Hello everyone, and welcome back to another fan-made Elite Specialization video. Please enjoy my char character getting hit in the background over and over on a loop because I messed up on the recording, and that is what is going to be there. So anyway, welcome everyone to yet another specialization video. In this video I'll be going over a medium armor elite specialization I've made. The subjects I'll be covering include weapon type, skills, utility skills, profession mechanics and changes, and finally ending on a sampling of some traits. Be sure to check out my other videos that I have up. All light armor is done. I have one on Ranger, and now, today, we're going to be tackling my fan-made elite spec for the Thief, which I have titled the Shadowkeeper, an emphasis on dueling and somewhat more of a bruiser. So without further ado, let's jump right into the weapons. As hinted at as this category's title, I've given the Shadowkeeper a main hand axe and an offhand sword. Two weapons the Thief currently does not have, of course. And just a quick disclaimer, I don't play Thief too much. I have started to play a little bit more, and I'm not super familiar with initiative costs or what thieves would like in terms of initiative costs, so I've left some of them out. For the stronger abilities, I have put on an initiative cost, so just keep that in mind. For the auto attack, I have Jagged Slice. Slice your foe with your axe twice. Your Clean Slice, slice your foe with your axe again, and in your final hit for the auto attack, Shadow Slice. Slice your foe with your axe, dealing more damage if the target is above half health. Had a lot of below half health stuff in the game, and I wanted to do something where it's like more of an initial thing. You're getting stronger attacks when you're just starting in combat rather than waiting until the very end. For the axe's second skill, we have Shadow's Whirlwind. Spin around using your axe to shield you with shadows. You damage foes and you destroy projectiles. This is in a radius of 180. It'll affect 3 enemies. A slight blind, I actually think that the blind could be half a second, not 2 seconds. Upon reflection and quick reflection, that might be a bit too much. But yes, this also would probably cost a medium amount of initiative, but fairly spammable, you could say. And then next I have the dual attack with Thieves, because their third skill is dependent on your main hand and offhand, and because this is not a two-hander, there is a dual attack. I've only made it for this weapon set, just to keep it streamlined, okay? So for the axe offhand sword, we have dual hilt strike. You strike your foe with the hilt of your axe, stunning them, and then you strike your foe with your sword hilt, dealing increased damage if the foe is stunned. This is a flat damage focused ability with CC. Once again, upon reflection, that 2-second stun could be okay for PvE, but for PvP in War vs. World, it would probably need to be a bit lower. And once again, this kind of plays into things that we've seen from like the Spellbreaker, with like increased damage if they are stunned or incapacitated in some type of way. Now, we're going to jump over to the offhand sword abilities. I wanted the offhand sword to be a good pairing with the dagger, considering that I don't feel that there is a strong condition damage offhand ability. You could argue that the offhand dagger's Torment is okay, however, I wanted something to be a bit more focused, and additionally, I was also inspired by the Vanilla Revenant offhand sword. You'll catch what I'm saying if you understand. So for the fourth ability, the offhand sword, Ghastly Blade, stab your foe and shadow step backwards with them, applying damage and conditions. 2 poison, 2 bleeding, and it's a shadow step. Very reminiscent to an ability Revenant had, but has since been, taken away in favor of other skills. But I think this could be really interesting for the Thief, just to be able to snatch a couple people out of a fight and manage them on their own and just pick people off. And then next we have Shadow's Guard. Take a defensive stance, blocking incoming attacks. If you are struck while channeling this ability, you can strike your foe once again. This would pretty much be a flip over skill, in a way, that we might see on, say, like Ranger Greatsword with their block. So you could either go for the full block duration, or if you were hit, you could instead go in favor for an attack. Some options there. So those were the weapon abilities for the axe and offhand sword with the Shadowkeeper. Next, we're going to be talking about the utility skills. Once again, you may have caught the hint. I've given them spectral skills. Currently only allowed on the Necromancer. However, with the Shadowkeeper, I wanted them to have a spectrally feel, not necessarily with necromantic souls, but tapping into shadows and people's shadows and the dark arts. Not in terms of necromancy, but in terms of like shadow arts and stuff. So starting off with the heal, we have Spectral Exoskeleton. You heal yourself while pulling your soul around you to defend yourself. Similar to like, if you know Naruto, like a Susanoo, with like the bones and stuff, anime stuff. Got it, cool. You will receive less damage and cleanse conditions over the exoskeleton's duration. The heal is pretty chunky. Immediately heal, you do not heal over the duration. You just get the heal and then you get reduced damage and condition cleanse, cleansing 5 conditions over its total duration. I wanted this to be a type of an ability where you can stay in a fight. I know Withdrawal, Shroud of Shadows, or Shroud in Shadows, a lot of Thieves' healing skills draw you out of the fight, and I didn't want that necessarily to be a focus. Next, for the actual utilities, we have the first one, Soul Tap. You strike your foe, ripping apart their soul. You deal damage and you gain boons. 30-second cooldown, a bit of a meteor strike, and also boon uptime. Pretty simple, however, it'd be a bit faster, in line with the Thief's quick gameplay. Next one, your second ability, this is your Stun Break. Descending Soul Crush. You will break stuns, if you're stunned, and Shadow Step in the air behind your target. If you have a target, if you do not, you just kind of go straight up in the air. Descend back onto the battlefield, dealing damage to foes and applying conditions. I want this to be a flashy skill. I want you to actually teleport in the air and drop down. I want you to have that sense of acrobatic, like, thiefy, like, should not actually be possible acrobatic style. It'll apply Poison, Torment, and a Quick Blind on 3 targets. I wanted this to be a bit more of a melee focus, so not a lot of 5 target hits. Third utility, we have Keeper's Chaining. Send out a bolt of shadow to remove boons and immobilize foes. A little bit of damage, this will pierce. This does inflict or affect 5 enemies. It will remove 2 specific boons, being Aegis and Protection, and will leave them, not vulnerable, but vulnerable in the sense that they are immobile, so you can get a couple good strikes off of them. 600 range, nothing to range focus, say like, because you're not like a ranger. It's pretty close still. And then your final utility. This is purely self-augmenting. Keeper's Bloodthirst. You build up power to satisfy the thirst of your soul. Your next, it says few attacks, but it's actually quite a few attacks. Your next attacks are unblockable and will heal you. This is a bit of a stronger skill. I would maybe increase the cooldown to maybe 35 or 40 seconds, but 8 of your attacks will be unblockable, and that means 8 attacks will heal you. It does have a half a second cast, so this is possibly interruptible, and that's one balancing thing I wanted as well, is to have skills be interrupted if possible. So you might want to cast this a little bit before and then jump right into battle. So those were the 4 utility skills. Now for the actual elite. I actually really like this elite. It's pretty simple in its function, but I think it's kind of cool. Soul Magnet. 3/4 second cast, so you might be able to interrupt this with a 90-second cooldown. You continuously pull enemies towards you, dealing damage and interrupting them. You become immune to blinds. The immune to blinds part was inspired by Malix's elite skill in the past when it was immune to blinds, but the damage is a bit stronger because it is an elite, and the pull is very important. This also is a dark field. I'm trying not to put a lot of combo fields because I want to make a whole video dedicated to combo fields, but I'll save that for a later video. I keep hinting at it in all my videos. I need to just make that video. Anyway, thank you for watching this section. Don't. We're now going to be moving on to the professional mechanics and the traits. Okay, to quickly go over the professional mechanic, steal is no longer a thing. This could be an engaging ability, and of course steal could just be baseline. You don't necessarily have to change the steal mechanic every time. However, to just create something maybe more in line with the Shadowkeeper, I wanted to change it to Shadow Pull. This is similar to the offhand sword ability, which will shadow step your foe towards you and with you. However, this is just pretty much a straight pull. You will teleport a foe towards you, stealing a skill. This could just be a teleport, or this could just be a pull to get the interrupt off. Both have their merits. You know, a shadow step teleport on an enemy could be a bit faster, but a pull could get an interrupt off. Once again, 30-second cooldown, a range of 450, so it is fairly short. You have to be within range of fighting, because I want this spec to be focused on getting into melee combat and fighting, and being more soldiery than necessarily stealthy and backline decapper stuff, and also for PvE sakes. There you go. Shadow Pull. Great. Now we're going to go over the traits. First, we have the Miner, which is Soulkeeper's Harvest on a 4-second cooldown. When you successfully interrupt a foe, you will gain 2 initiative. Pretty simple. If this did not have a cooldown, this could be very powerful. However, I wanted it to have the cooldown because it is just a passive. It's a Miner. You don't have to pick it. And now we're going to actually go into the major traits. One line is for direct damage, one line would be for like condition damage, and then one could be affecting your profession skill and utilities, your spectral skills. So for the adept, this would be a direct damage, physical damage focused one. Nails to the Coffin. You deal more damage to foes with less health than you. 10% increased damage, and your health, this trait is dependent on percentage, not numerical value, just to clarify. Next, we have the master trait, Shadowkeeper's Affliction. You will gain expertise. Interrupting a foe applies might to you as well. See that interrupting playstyle, initiative, but now also might. Might you gain gives more condition damage instead of power. This is similar to those might altering traits, however just flipped. Some might traits will improve power, just the straight power. This one, however, is focused on the condition damage aspect of might. And then finally, for the Grandmaster, we have Keeper's Horde. When using Shadow Pull, you gain the Keeper's Horde effect for a duration. If you successfully critically strike to a threshold, meaning a number of times, you will grant surrounding allies a temporary damage boost. This I wanted to be focused in PvE scenarios, and hey, even World versus World scenarios. But when you Shadow Pull, you will gain this effect, and it will keep track of how many critically strikes you successfully deal. If you critically strike an opponent or anybody, 5 times while this buff is on you, it will pulse 18% damage boost to surrounding allies for 6 seconds. This is a bit more supportive. Yeah. There's no cooldown on this because this is reliant on Shadow Pull, which has already a 30-second cooldown. Just to, you know, point that out. I really enjoy this trait. This was the very first thing I made for the Shadowkeeper, other than the title. I didn't even work on the weapons, utilities, heal, or elite. I just thought of this as a trait, and I was like, ooh, that kind of would be interesting for Thief. So, yeah. Let's Keeper's Horde. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my weapon coverage, my profession mechanic, my utility and trait coverage for my fan-made elite specialization for the Thief, the Shadowkeeper. This could not be what a lot of Thief players want, and I am by no means a mouthpiece for the Thief community. But I just wanted to give it some things. Also, with the weapons, you could have a lot of play because you are gaining a main and offhand weapon, so you're going to have multiple dual attacks now at your disposal. Hopefully they would be, you know, pretty strong, similar to, say, the Elementalist, because they really went above and beyond with the Elementalist. I definitely think that they could do it for the Thief. So yeah. Like the video, comment down below your thoughts on this specialization or what you would like to see in a Thief Elite specialization. This goes out early on Patreon, and the link is down below if you would like to support. You get a bunch of exclusive videos and early access to a bunch of videos. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more Guild Wars 2 Elite specs and other videos, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!